Good evening tonight. Money, money, money in space news again. Boeing gets a new contract. Eutelsat gets 191 million from the UK. UK opens up an orbital cleanup mission for a public bid. Firefly has gone IPO. And why was the new NASA administrator picked the way he was anyway? An asteroid is supposedly going to hit the moon in another year or two. Should we try to stop it? Plus, we're going to unpack the Q2 Space Investment Quarterly. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. As you know, this program is sponsored by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. What do we do? As always, we champion and strengthen emerging space startups, space scalable small and medium enterprises, and space adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy across the funding spectrum. We fortify business plans and investor readiness for founding teams at varying levels of development. And a lot of our work, including this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So if you go to the QR code at the upper left of the screen, it'll take you to our donation portal. Keep helping us out. A little in the tip jar each month makes a big difference. Thanks in advance. Joining me now is my oldest space friend, Michael Lane from Liftport. Michael, come on in, man. Dude.
Hey, how's things?
What up?
There we are.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
You were there. I saw you. Everybody saw you.
It occurred to me just 1 minute ago.
Yeah?
No, it occurred to me just 1 minute ago as you were pointing to the QR code up there that our largest audience is now coming in on Spotify that cannot see that QR code. So I think we should maybe start saying, go to the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, cscf.space, if you would like to donate, because our Spotify audience cannot see that. I just got that a moment ago.
That's actually good. I need to tweak that, obviously.
Yeah,
we'll see what else we can tweak down the road, too. I got a bunch of things coming up all at once, so it's going to be a fun time. Anyway, so I'll do that on top of that because I still have a goal. And right now I'm getting real motivated toward that goal. I want us to be able to accept Bitcoin. Bitcoin is higher than ever. Come on, folks. And when you're ready, I know there's someone out there who would love to donate us a Bitcoin. Just one. Bitcoin. Because they paid $3,000 for it. Now it's worth $120. Come on. And you get the full deduction. For a 501c3, you get the full deduction as long as you've held that Bitcoin for at least 2 years, according to our wonderful economist. Shameless plug. Roddy and Davis is our accounting firm that figured this stuff out for us. So
awesome. Yeah. Did you know I used to have 14 Bitcoin? Like that's maybe a topic for another day. I don't have them anymore. I sold them,
obviously, or you wouldn't be, doing what you're doing right now. You'd be in a completely different place. 14 Bitcoins times 120,000.
No, I sold everything. I was such a genius. I'm like, it's this fictional money will never go over $1,000. So I was selling them. I sold them at the 900 mark, like 960. And I thought I was a genius selling that high, right? Because I bought them when I got them when they were in the.
Vast, that company Vast.
They're funded.
It's completely funded by a Bitcoin billionaire.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Jason's asking about Mars
strategy for that.
Jason's asking about Mars Coin. I actually have a lot of interest in Mars Coin. It's got a good community. Full disclosure, I have a couple $100 worth of Mars coin, maybe 900. So I'm not trying to plug it. Just I do think
Sure.
it's an
Well,
interesting
the
coin.
thing of in coin world, what really, I mean, there's so many to choose from right now. And the real issue with that is, as I figured out, is its its usage. If it's being actually used by people to
Right.
do things, it retains a certain value over time. And people trust Bitcoin a lot, and they
Right.
trust Ethereum, and
Yeah.
they but all the other ones, a lot of these unknown things, it's really
Yeah.
hard
I
because everybody wants to
I don't want our
guess
show
what
to like
Bitcoin is
move
going to
in
be.
talking different
You know?
coins, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But we're going there.
All right.
We're entering. We're the center
I'm
is embracing the future of finance.
good.
So we're going to do
Awesome.
this soon.
There was a
Absolutely.
professor down in Orlando. His last name is Metcalf. I don't remember what his first name is. They're putting together $100 million fund that is pulling in from the crypto community and pushing out towards the space sector. He was pushing that at ISDC. So,
Well, then we need to talk to that guy right now.
right, yeah, we do.
Get on.
We
We need to get
definitely
on that guy's radar right now.
Yeah, yeah. I think Sean, that'll be a guest that we should go after is that guy Metcalf. Just write that down and we'll talk about it later. Cool. All right, what do we got this morning?
Okay.
This evening.
This evening, tonight. Well, what do we have? We have again. It wouldn't be a show unless you're talking about money. It's the intersection of space and money, and that money just keeps intersecting. We could stop it if we wanted to. $191 million for Eutelsat got just recently, and it was invested by the UK actually. So that money came from there. And that's pretty huge.
This idea,
it's satellite business. It's not sexy space, but it's space that makes money. And so here you are.
Yeah. Yep. This idea of sovereignty just keeps coming up over and over again, right? People are trying to build a rival to Starlink, which is funny because Eutelsat has been around since the 80s, maybe. Like that's like it was theirs to lose, and they did lose to Starlink. So I think that's pretty interesting. That's old space trying to catch up with new space.
Well, there's more to it than that. I've been doing a lot of reading on this week, and it so far, and turns out somebody finally in one of these articles said the quiet part out loud, and they mentioned the words Europe first.
Right. Yeah.
And so if America first is catching on, all of a sudden they're caught on now going, you know what? We need a little more independence. We need a Europe first, especially on space assets. And so that's why they had that look for the next great generation of launcher. And it's like, like there were 5 of them last week. And now there's one they're really looking at hard.
Yeah. Sovereignty. The world is going to start breaking into factions pretty quickly. It's also necessary because OneWeb basically imploded, and this is all the remains of the original OneWeb satellite group. So, and these guys originally wanted a constellation like Starlink, so they were looking for 30,000 or 25,000 satellites. So, I think Europe is trying to kind of figure their own path. Not everybody knows this, but we're so used to GPS in broadcasting to the world. But Europe had to create their own Galileo system. Russia built a system called Glasnost. and China built a system called Baidu, something like that.
Mhm.
Again, kind of that strategic sovereignty. They don't want to be dependent on American GPS systems. I don't think they want to be dependent on American comm systems. So interesting stuff out there.
Yep.
Yep.
So, but it shows in that kind of investment, even though it's an older company,
Yeah.
they're getting a refresh.
Yeah.
And on that topic, right here in the States, Boeing just won a major contract. Another old space company just won a big contract.
Space company is trying to be new again
to deliver strategic communication satellites.
Yeah. I'm gonna step behind there. There we go.
Yes, 2.8 billion.
Billions.
And it's from the Space Force.
Billions. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And we're bringing back that old saw from the Reagan era, peace through strength. That's making a comeback.
Yep.
And so that's always going to be more money for stuff like this. So it's a new generation of the same old stuff.
I do wonder about this, right? Because we had that big bill that was forced down the Democrats' throat, and it specifically called out $11 billion for Space Force. Is this coincident? Was this in planning from another budget? I really don't know where that money came from, and I'd really like to know.
Yeah.
Because Space Force was supposed to get a whole bunch of new money specifically to go into what do they call it? Unfunded priorities.
Right. They never really said what that new money was going to be used for.
No, no, they sure didn't.
So we know they're studying, UFO activity on Mars. We don't know.
I hope so. No, we don't know. We don't know.
I would prefer that over some things.
This kills me. Boeing expects to deliver the first satellite in 100 years, 2031. 2031 feels like 100 years from now.
It does. It seems.
And that's the first satellite.
It's made by the same people who built CST 100.
Yeah. Yep. I know.
So, okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, forgive me if I don't jump up and down with excitement over this because I am skeptical.
Hey, I'm just trying to dig up some news anywhere I can, man.
Yeah.
Shoot the messenger. All right.
All right. Going back to sovereignty here. It's the theme of the last couple weeks.
Yeah. The sovereign launch initiative. Remember those guys? Remember last week we talked about there's like 5 companies they were looking at, including the one from the UK. And now they seem to at least point to an outfit called PLD Space as the team to beat. So but it's an operational launcher. They've got an operational launcher called Miura 5, I guess.
Yep.
And that program is already an economic catalyst, they say, involving a network of 397 partner entities.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's how you sell a system, right? That's they're pulling the playbook from NASA. Pretty soon they're going to say, oh, it's 397 partner entities and it's 11 nations and it's 62 local communities. Like they're going to pull the NASA trick. Watch that happen.
Yep. Well, but also the fact it's coming out of Spain.
Yeah,
is really interesting.
Surprising. Yeah. You don't think of Spain as being a space nation. Like there have always been supporters. Hispasat is a really, really big satellite community and downlink station.
That's been around a long time.
Right. Yeah. but you think of Spain as a supporting nation, mostly to France's Arianespace. So
Right.
that is interesting. I kind of was that one surprised me a little bit.
Yeah,
The
but then
Russians
you
at
know what?
first,
Last week we saw that Lithuania is muscling its way in there too.
right,
They want a seat at the table. So
right,
if Lithuania can do that, well, Spain certainly can.
right, exactly. Yeah. So, um, you know, that sovereignty topic is just not going to go away. All
Right.
right, more sovereignty, although this is not the same.
Well, and UK again is
What do you think of?
what?
Go ahead.
No, it says the UK Space Agency has also launched, in addition
I
to
think,
buying into Eutelsat, they're they've got something like they've got a 75.6 million pound competitive tender. That's like 90 million, 90, $100 million for a pioneering mission to remove derelict satellites from orbit. So they're willing to pay for that.
honestly, that feels overdue. But think about this, right? We just saw the one article from the UK,
Yep.
And we know that our friend Joe is pulling in some capital from the UK. We know that they're building a bunch of spaceports because we saw that on an article like a couple of months ago. It really kind of tells me that little island nation that was dependent on shipping has now decided that the ships of the future are spaceships. I don't know if you've seen a map of the spaceports that are being built in the UK, but there's a lot of them. It's surprising.
I hope they're built more for vertical launch than horizontal, because that seems to be the deal
yeah.
now.
Yeah. What do you think about debris cleanup missions?
Well,
I don't know that we've ever really talked that much.
I know,
about
but
that.
you know what? There's going to be a huge, giant learning curve on all of this for everybody. Everybody's deploying a lot of different types of things, and you can't pick up everything. That stuff that's whizzing around that might impact the ISS. It's the size of a dime. There's nothing being built now that can handle something like that yet, and probably won't be for a while. I don't know if you just go out there with a big net. What do you do? This stuff is a mess, and the pieces that they're able to pick up are actually pretty hefty, because you can easily track them and find them and come up next to them and put your arms around it. Because we had Troy from that one company, early on, and he talked about what they did, and they actually. And they're actually getting money to do stuff like that, and they're going to have a launch coming soon. But they're pretty big pieces. So I don't know how the real issue is not so much the ability to do it, but what size of things you can reasonably expect to get compared with everything that's out there. It's just such an absolute mess, and most of those pieces are probably the size of your fist or smaller.
Right. They're looking at 54,000 tracked objects, 10 centimeters across. That big. Yeah, CubeSat sized.
Yeah.
I hope they're able to do something. Kind of a useful segue into cisLunar Industries, because they wanted to harvest material from orbit, melt it down into slag, and then build it up into something else. So maybe the cisLunar folks can help with some of that random junk up there.
I don't know what kind of out of the box thinking we're going to need for this. It's
Yeah.
but we're going to have to do it all, and just we're going to have to throw everything at this problem in the next 10 years, and just see what finally
Yeah.
sticks.
Yep.
It's like throwing it at a
This is,
wall.
this is a little hard to read, but this is from this is from the UK's launch sites. Okay. They've got 7. About half and half are spaceports, the traditional kind of spaceports, vertical, right, and 4 are horizontal.
Yeah, I see. All I see are like 3 of them are kind of purple colored, and the other 4 are like use or something. I don't know.
All right, I'll post the link to the chat. But but seriously, a company at the size of a country the size of the UK having 7 spaceports is actually quite surprising.
And 5 of them are in Scotland.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. 5 of them are in Scotland. Like, that surprises me. So yeah, it's the UK is really making an effort there. We have a comment in the chat of well, we have 2 comments in the chat. Doug, I'll get to yours in a second. Jason's trying to remind us that there was a big announcement about an extrasolar comet just showed up, which super cool, but also not that intersection of space and money. So we weren't going to talk about it. But it is, it's the 3rd known visitor, and I use that intentionally with quotes, from another from beyond our solar system. So I think that's pretty neat. Yeah. And then Doug is asking, how much are the spaceports dependent upon the success of suborbitals?
That is a good question.
It is. Doug, I don't know if you were on the call about a week and a half ago, but the DoD pulled the plug on SpaceX's point-to-point suborbital tests that were south and east of an atoll of Hawaii, and so I think that set back point-to-point technology a lot. I think it probably sets back several years by that capricious decision. So
we've also noticed that 20 years ago, when there was the first wave of build out of potential spaceports, most of them were being built out to accommodate horizontal launch. And the reality was 10 years later or more, closer to the present day, that most of the more successful outfits out there are all vertical launch. So there's nothing for those horizontal spaceports to do. So the question about, will the new ones in the UK be, depend on outfits like Virgin to be successful? Well, I mean, yes and no. It's because they're one of the few games in town. There's a couple of outfits that want to do horizontal launch, but are there enough of them right now in existence to justify spaceports accommodating that? And history has kind of told us no.
Right. Yeah. Yep, exactly. I'm going to put up one more graphic because God knows I love my graphics.
We're going to see a whole bunch of them here real soon.
Yeah, in just a moment. Yep. So this article has... Nope, you're not seeing that. This article. This map of all of the U.S. spaceports. The U.S. is a pretty big country, and we're at double the number that the UK has. So I just find that kind of surprising. And I count this as one big complex instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, whatever it is, 6 separate ones. So I just think it's interesting that UK is making that big an investment, and I don't know. I don't know if it's going to pay off, but fingers crossed.
Somewhere along the way, analysts had to ask the right questions, supposedly, when they were building these things. Yeah. And so hopefully the analysts in the UK, we were planning these expenditures to ask the right questions to determine how these things are going to pay for themselves and be useful. Yeah, Joe Bistritto is here today. Hi, Joe. He said, well, there's Skylon, if that ever happens. They've been talking about Skylon. It's another horizontal launcher in the UK. And
Skylon was a competitor in one of our business plan competitions. Yeah. Maybe it was 2018, 19, around there. Something like that.
Guess, yeah.
Absolutely crushed the competition. It was no contest. They won that year. But that was 2017 or 18, and don't hear a lot about Skylon that much. I mean, it was there, but yeah. Anyway, this show wasn't really supposed to devolve into spaceports and launch, but just kind of it's interesting. I think it's kind of important, and I think maybe we can find some spaceport people. Jose Molina was really pushing his spaceport down in Puerto Rico, and he had a really interesting panel at ISTC. Maybe we can get Jose to bring in some of his folks.
Yeah,
we'll try.
Absolutely.
I think that'd be cool. Yeah. Okay. Let's speed this along here a second. There's a couple things left to kind of chat about. What do you want to say about Duffy, our new beloved? We still don't know anything about him.
Right? I know.
I think it's been a week.
It's still all hype and smoke and mirrors, even though here's why Trump appointed him, and I still don't see anything substantive in what they're saying. It's
right.
I'm not seeing anything.
There. No, right. Like we just, got to have all capitals for the word tremendous. Got to make sure that we do that.
That's all you can do. Yes. That says it all.
But I guess that's all his, I mean, I'm a little surprised that anybody has 9 children. That always surprises me, no matter where they come from, what their background is. But
I think Elon Musk.
One thing I will give him. Yeah, that again, I question that, but I do think it comes on the heels of acting administrator Petro, who just a few days ago had basically said she was trying to calm the waters and say everything's going to be fine. We're going to lead this. We'll wait until leadership assigns somebody to us, and then boop, out. She's back at her position at one of the centers. I forget which one. So that happened super fast, and for better or for worse, he will have the ear of the president. And honestly, most of our NASA administrators, regardless of which side of the aisle they're appointed from, have not really had the ear of the president. So by being a cabinet level role, that does elevate the NASA administrators' access. So that might be good news, but if they're looking to cut NASA, they couldn't have found a better place to cut it from. So Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I love Eric Berger, and his words are here: buckle up. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna I didn't oh, Joe says she went back to being director at KSE. Thanks,
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. Um,
yeah, yeah.
so our new
Uh
favorite billionaire, Jared Isaacman, is donating money again. Um,
yep.
he's donating 15 million to a space camp initiative program, and he's done that before, I guess. But I just like seeing him out
Yeah.
there doing things, staying in the public eye,
I
and
really do wonder like what's next, right? Um
yeah,
Yeah, totals 25 million. Now I knew he had put some money into this before, but I didn't know it was that much. And he raised more than 50 million for the St. Jude's Hospital. So,
right.
that's pretty awesome. But I did not realize he'd put this much into Space Camp. That I find that really remarkable.
Well,
A
because
guy I
there's a
was
lot of talk.
already impressed
Yeah,
with.
there's
What's
a lot
that?
of talk that he was going to do something to do something about the missing science
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is getting cut from the budget, and find an independent way to pay for that and do it anyway. Um, I hope he continues with that idea.
Me too. A guy I already liked, I like more now. So,
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
So
It's time for another IPO, right? We
hoorah,
had one
Firefly.
2 weeks ago, right?
Yep.
Uh, Honestly, I didn't see it quite as soon. I was not surprised by
No, I didn't see it.
Voyager,
No. Yeah.
but I didn't see Firefly coming at all. Um, yeah. We don't know how much they're going to be selling their shares for yet, so nothing we can do about that. Um, I like this line. There were a lot of things that happened out of the SPAC days, many of which failed to perform. That is such a
Mhm.
friendly way of saying wasted all of their investors' money and cratered.
Got nothing for it.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, got nothing for it. But I think
Although,
I dig this. Yeah, I dig this. I, I hope that they do well. Um, it
well,
feels a
it's
little
interesting.
early to me,
It
honestly.
does. It's kind of weird. I don't know, because it costs a lot. There's a lot of,
Yeah.
we do these things. We do these. We do the boot camps.
Mhm.
Before the BPC, and I do a thing on
Business
exit
plan
strategy.
competition. Yeah.
And one of the things I always yammer about is how awful IPOs are to do, and you should really avoid it if you possibly can. And here they are. Nobody listens to me,
Yeah.
and now look what happens. See, that's
Then look what happened. Right. I feel like okay, great. They've by one piece of math, they're almost 6 times, almost 7 times their revenues over a year, so that's good. But all that means is they've just lost less money.
right. I know.
Um,
So why are they
right?
doing an IPO now? Because they need to make
I,
up the loss. I mean, what's
I
going
don't
on?
I don't know. I mean, they say they want to cover some debt. That's some of the stuff they want to do, and if they manage their debt load, then they're closer to being profitable.
Yeah.
They got $175 million in debt. Get this, some of it with a 14% interest rate.
Jeez.
136 million at 14% interest rate.
Oh,
So that's got to choke the lifeblood out of any company. So I understand why they're trying to change their financing model. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about hardware engineering, it's financial engineering. I just don't know that this is the tool that I would take to do that. I feel like you can
What kind
ratchet
of
down that.
What kind of power of positive thinking attitude allowed them to sign up for 13.87% interest to begin with?
What kind of bank is like, yeah, let's do $136 million at 14% interest rate?
Yeah,
Right.
it's
So,
good for them.
I mean, I like Firefly. Everybody know, like, I'm fans of them,
Yeah.
but this seems odd. I hope they are successful, but I
Well, they're
have some
claiming, I don't
concerns.
know if they can put this on the books, they're claiming 1.1 billion in back orders
Yeah,
for their stuff. That's
yeah,
what's said near the end.
yeah. No, they've
Yeah.
been steady about building hardware. Yeah, yeah. No, they've been steady about hardware. Uh, so we'll see. So seriously, is that we just had Voyager? Is Firefly at the same level of Voyager? I say no.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
What are we, Siskel and Ebert now? 2 thumbs down.
Two thumbs up. Right, exactly. We're gonna do that, dude. We just invented a new shtick.
Yeah.
When any company goes public, we're like thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, absolutely. We
Yeah,
should do
yeah,
that. Now,
yeah.
should we stop an asteroid from hitting the moon?
Oh, you
Is
know
it more
what?
dangerous to do that, or is it more dangerous just to leave it be?
I definitely have thoughts about this one. I don't always agree with Whittington. I agree with him enough to put him up here, but we probably only agree about 60% of the time.
Yeah.
But he does make some interesting points here. Okay, so reminding people, this is the rock that we thought had a chance of hitting Earth. It's only a 3% chance, but that's still a lot. And the amount of energy, because the thing is so big, it would have been way beyond a Hiroshima hit, way beyond. So rightfully, that's a good reason to be concerned. It doesn't look like it's going to hit the Earth anymore, but we don't know for sure and won't know until we get another close approach in 2028. But right now, there's about a 4% chance it's going to hit the moon.
Yeah, so it's
And
not much
if it
bigger,
does,
but it's like
going to.
both of these things could completely fizzle.
Right.
So is it more dangerous to try to move the thing when we really don't know what the hell we're doing yet?
Like if this goes,
that could make things worse.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Because our new NASA administrator, who's been on a reality show, may decide he wants to go. He wants to do Bruce Willis. He wants to go.
The NASA
And then we're doomed at that point. It's totally doomed when that happens.
I can't even.
Well, all you can do is laugh. That's all you can do anymore, Michael. It's all you can do is laugh at the absurdity. Don't worry, Mr. President. I got this.
I got this. Oh man, that's a
hold my beer.
That's a movie script that absolutely sells itself. Oh my god, you could just type like 6 prompts into an AI and have a full-blown movie script.
And at which point, what we will do, we need to get in there. We need to get in there and get the streaming concession for that.
Right.
For that kind of thing, because the center would be funded for the next 3 generations if we did that.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if it is going so fast that it is uncapturable. I wonder if it could be captured or if it's just going simply too fast.
I think it's too fast to be captured, but I mean, all the other plans we've ever had regarding asteroids was not to capture it, but just to nudge it out of the way. And so this would be another nudge.
Oh, yeah. I think a nudge is cool. I wonder, I guess my word is, I'm using the wrong word. I don't think we can capture it, but I do wonder if we could circularize the orbit, give our moon a new mini moon, and that's not entirely hyperbole,
Yeah.
because I think that some of the mini moons that have been there before would be really interesting targets for asteroid mining. So it's.
But
I wonder if there's.
Considering
Go
our
ahead.
history of Mars probes and other things, it seems to me
Yeah.
if we didn't have bad luck, we wouldn't have any luck at all. So our luck, we tried to circularize that thing around the moon. It would smack right into Gateway as it was being built.
Okay. Real serious consideration. The deadline here is 2032, lunar elevator to be operational. So then the question is, for me as Liftport's beloved leader, do we delay deploying our lunar elevator until this thing has flown by, or yeah, I really do have to wonder about that given the timing of this thing. So yeah, it's going to be bumpy.
We don't want to divert it into a lunar orbit then, because then your lunar elevator would have to bend itself like a pretzel in order to, so the thing would pass it by.
No, I think we could do it. But the other thing was, could we capture it and turn it into a counterweight for our elevator, which would be super useful.
That would be very aggressive.
But now we're talking about an amount of energy that us puny humans typically don't have access to. So I'm not betting on capturing the thing. I do think maybe circularizing the orbit is not completely impossible, but my okay, let's just push Jarek Eisenman and say, hey buddy, we got an idea for you. That's that. All right. Speaking of billionaires, let's talk about money.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of it out there, and and it's being spent in interesting ways. Because we just got the quarterly report from Space IQ, and we tried to unpack that a little bit, and it's actually, my God, it's pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why we're talking about the news for so long. We're stalling, because when you look at this thing, we're going to unpack this. This is going to be great. And then you look at it's just 17 pages of, oh my God.
Right.
How do they pack it all in there? What am I looking at? Help me.
These guys are so good at what they do. I mean, really. So let me get, so the link that I'm going to post to the channel is not actually the report, but from this link you can get to the report.
That's what
so Tom, give a little bit of background of Space Capital.
Okay, these guys, the guys that did this, they came originally from the Space Angels Network, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And they put this thing together, and they've got their own capital fund now, and this is just something they kind of throw out as, I don't know, I won't call it a loss leader, but they throw it out to certainly show everybody that they know what they're talking about everything, and maybe you should, go to them for help if you need to get money for your startup. But the places like, where do I start? Because they break it down. They break things down quarter over quarter, with applications, distribution, infrastructure, mostly, and so and that's really what they talk about. So when you talk about They have it broken up, say, by geography, let's say. So you have the USA dominates, and then China comes in second, and then everybody else is like single digits.
Yeah.
If you divide it by industry, they break it down to satellites, launch, and emerging industries. And of course, of all the money that's going in. And this is cumulative private market equity investment from 2009 to the present.
Right.
And for satellites alone, it's 307 billion private equity investments just in satellites. Launch is only 40 billion by comparison. So satellites still dominate everything in this big industry that we've built now. And then, of course, if you divide it up by layer, 70% of that is in actual applications, stuff doing other stuff.
Right.
And then infrastructure, which you show up there, and then distribution networks, which are small, but still very important. But the emerging industries, I like it's interesting, but they have to say that. What's emerging? Well, it's a subset of infrastructure excluding launch and satellite.
Right.
So now you got to look up, but then they put these companies out there like we're supposed to know what they are.
Well, okay, but we do know some
of them. I do know what they are. Others
right.
I do not know what they are or what they do at all, but they're still raising, 40, 50, 245 million in a series A, B, or C.
Well, I point out the Aether Flux and the Reflect Orbital because these are the folks that are trying to do space-based solar power, which boggles me, right? They're getting 20 and $50 million to do big stuff. Xenopower is going to the moon. True Anomaly is going to the moon. Impulse Space, I think they're the ones that just got all the money for in-space transportation. These are the folks that we reported on when we had a $500 million week, and 300 million of it was from Impulse Space. So the emerging market, this is the biggest number I have seen by a lot. Usually it's like, on this side of the comma or the decimal point, right? It's sub billion, 300, 400 million at a time. I've never seen it by itself at that much.
5.2 billion
over 3 years.
Over 3 years. That's still, you're still in the 3 comma club.
Right. Yeah.
Year over year.
Yeah.
So, okay. There was somewhere I saw where some of these companies are raising ungodly sums of money, and but they're way up there. There's a lot of companies. These are not seed or A or B rounds. They're like E and F rounds.
Right.
They're doing.
Yeah.
And they're getting hundreds of millions.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I can find that easily, but here we go. Yeah. When they start to graduate, they're in the big number levels. I'm going to jump back to the beginning here because there's usually something I didn't see it. Where was it? This is a little bit astounding that it's nearly $8 billion in this quarter alone.
Yep. 113 companies.
Yeah. I remember a conversation with the chief scientist of Space Force. It should have been about 2019 or so. And the Space Force budget in total was, I think, about $8 billion at that point. It was brand new. It was the first year, and they didn't have much to work with. And I told him that, that was a year when $3 billion was going into industry. 3 billion for the whole year. And I'm like, there's going to be a point where there's more money in private capital in space than there is in government funding. Now, sorry, I was more specific than the DoD side of it. Mm-hmm. But if this carries over Call it $30 billion for the year. Maybe it's not that much, but even if it's 25 billion, that is more money than NASA's budget, and it's more money than the unedited with the big beautiful bill headache. It's more money than NASA had, and it's more money than Space Force started out with.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the last 12 months is $29 billion.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
a lot of this is in applications. I went way down on page 13, I think it is, because I knew seen this before. Anduril, I don't know what they do, but they're $2.5 billion.
Yeah.
Deal. It's a Series G.
Yeah.
and these things are happening all over the place. There's a lot of D through G rounds are going on this quarter.
Yeah.
For a lot of companies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's bonkers. Anduril's a Silicon Valley darling defense tech that's really pushing. Anduril is what Boeing would like to be.
Okay. That makes sense. That kind of money, that makes sense.
Right.
Absolutely.
Defense, but this company is not even 10 years old, I don't think.
How old is Vast? 3?
Oh yeah, no, they're brand.
It's all about what you pump into it.
Yeah.
These days.
Mm-hmm. Our guys at Gravitics are only 5. Yeah. How much? It's like, that's the question. How much money can you put into the system? How fast can you make it useful? And is there more money on the other side of that useful?
Right.
Yeah. I would, if it was me, I don't know who this group is, ARX, but they're in the top 10 list of applications at 34 million at the bottom, and Anduril with 2.5 billion at the top. But if I was ARC, I would be pretty excited about being on this list.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I would be pretty excited on being anywhere in the same room as Anduril. Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, of course, when you really look at it, the next one down is Helsing. They're 600. They're 1/4 the size of
right.
Anduril was like, okay, we're number 2.
We're number 2. Right.
And it drops fast after that, but they're doing interesting stuff. Specialized hardware and software that utilizes data from space-based assets.
Yeah.
So. One of these times years ago, Uber could have been on that list, and probably was.
Yeah, actually, Uber and Lyft are both in this list in a different place. Jason on the call is talking about Palmer Luckey and his original work at Oculus. So, I mean, he started out fine because he was building the what eventually Meta bought as their Oculus glasses. So he's been in that tech world for a long time, and he knows all the right people. Yeah. And Joe's like, you are what you raise. That's the truth. You are what you raise.
That's so true.
Oh my God. All right. There's something else I wanted to point out here. Yeah. So this is where I start disagreeing with Space Capital, right?
Okay.
They're talking about exits and paths to exits, and that's cool. They should, but I don't put Uber and Lyft and DoorDash in the same kind of category of other space projects, and they do. Because it's an application layer, right?
Yep.
So just by how they define what they're tracking, I think it muddies the waters a lot. I wish they wouldn't do that, but I mean, Jesus.
But when you also look at those exits, the average funding raise, it was all IPO.
Yeah, all
It's almost
IPO.
all
Yep,
IPO compared
yep,
to anything else.
yep. Yeah, and it's
A little
all
bit of M&A, but mostly IPO on
and
everything.
it's all applications except for one. And for those not watching this thing, the lowest is an $11 billion exit, and the highest is a $76 billion exit. So, not bad if you can get it, right?
Yeah. And where's Voyager, Joe asks.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Well, there you
Not
go.
not on this list just yet.
No.
Not on the list just yet. What did they? What? No, but they did. So Joe's asking a good question. They got a 3.2 valuation. I think that's what they're. So not in the top 10, but certainly solid, and certainly something to celebrate in the space community. Um, yeah. Oh, this was something they were talking about. Voyager. I lost it somewhere in this article. Let me see if I can find it quick. Because they're talking about the premiums and comparing it. And yeah. So Voyager came in at a 3.2 billion valuation, and it started the day at a 1.8 with a 12x on sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it ended the day on a 22x on sales, right? So try to compare that to Carmen Holdings that only had a 4x on sales, and started out with a and compressed down to an and so Carmen got a 4x in sales, and Voyager got a 12x on sales, jumped to 22x. And then they compare it to Planet Labs from a few years earlier, debuted at a 25x in sales and dropped to only 8. So, right, like these market caps against sales, they're interesting numbers. They're worth paying attention to. And that immediately makes me think of Firefly a few minutes ago, where they're losing money. Where are they going to be at the 4x sales, or are they going to be at the 22x sales?
Right. Well, if you want to, but you want to see the reality check, you got to go to page 16 at the bottom of it. There's this huge graphic, and it says most valuable countries, private companies by layer. And you can see that big giant box.
Yeah.
Where SpaceX is.
And everything else
and
is.
And then you see Blue Origin in this little box. I can put my thumb on it from my screen. It'd be that. And there's a couple of Applied Intuition. Sierra Space is smaller, but the little Firefly is way down there. A little Axiom's even smaller. So tiny. And where's Voyager? Yeah, it's a gnat.
Right. Yeah. Not even there at all.
And that's just in the infrastructure space. The application space is also just like all over the map. And the tiny companies. They made the list.
I didn't see that. I didn't catch that. That's a good.
That really just kind of just says it in a nutshell, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who is dominating here and who is just trying hard?
Yeah. Yikes. Well, you had something you wanted to say at the end.
I did. I want to end on a weird note, because it's like 3 months ago I did this, and it was fun. It was just a little, I call it a PSA now, a public service announcement. So I'm going to try to do that again, just to get us going, just to kind of take us out on an interesting note. And I'll do it if it catches on, I'll do it again in September. But first, before I do that, I want to say our guest Thursday is Ajay Kothari. We just got him in like an hour ago or something. He's the president and CEO at Astrox Corporation, and they design access to space rockets and hypersonic air-breathing vehicles. 8 p.m. Thursday. be here. Okay. And now to finish, so I wanted to talk about, we've talked a lot about ISDC since we went there. And when we go to conferences like ISDC, we have the privilege of living in a special bubble, let's say, for a few days.
Yeah.
But then we have to go back to the real world. And given everything that's been going on of late there, we can't help but wonder what kind of world we'll even have a few years from now, or even a few months. So here's the picture that kind of emerges for me of what I'm seeing or late. And people may agree or disagree, but this is the world we have to go back to after we leave that beautiful space conference. Here's the thing. For most of our lives, we have been trained to chase politicians, left, right, Biden, Trump, while the real controllers, very carefully, stay off the camera. Truth be told, we're now living in a compromised society run by what only can be called a global shadow government, for lack of a better term. And how do we know this? Well, you can look all around you and see the truth of it for yourself. I mean, basically, our global foreign policy is being written largely by AIPAC, not those we elect to represent us. BlackRock and Vanguard control the global supply chains. There are only 6 global corporations that consolidate the news into prepackaged disinformation narratives designed specifically to keep us all distrustful and sniping at each other. Pfizer is developing things that literally rewrites your cells. Palantir builds a behavior map that they want us to adhere to. Central bank financiers leading linked to CIA, Mossad, and NGOs all over the world always end up funding both sides of every war. Meantime, the Vatican launders it through offshore secrecy, while Fort Knox, ironically, remains unaudited and is believed by many to be completely empty. The Five Eyes runs the psychological firewall. And Israel? Well, poor Israel. They've become a black site for trauma data and experimental warfare. I kid you not. Congress, the administration, the judiciary, and pretty much every federal agency or institution in our country are captured. Your taxes are funding your own containment. And every 4 years, they give you a new face to keep you staring at the stage. While the real empire expands in darkness and silence. This isn't politics anymore, folks. It's a multinational ritual. So if you don't map the web, if you don't find ways to break yourself out of the matrix, you're just going to keep fighting illusions, while the real enemy drains your resources, and hopefully in their hopes, they leave you begging. But you know what? Despite all that, I am still convinced there is a better world coming. But first, we have to fight our way through all this. And it's hard to do if you don't know what it is you're fighting. And it's going to take a while. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, for Michael Lane and Sean Key, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson, saying good night, good luck, and for the love of God, keep watching the skies.